Thank you very much, Asma, and good afternoon, everyone. As introduced, I'm from SAICA, and we were to share our journey into transforming our strategy in order to be able to respond to the challenges we find facing, both brought about by COVID recently, but the challenges didn't just come from COVID, they were there even before COVID. And we were just fortunate that we started preparing ourselves because of the other challenges. Basically, from SAICA point of view, as far back as about 3 or 4 years back, we crystallized our strategic intent to be that of developing responsible leaders. And we took it upon ourselves then to actually define and understand what we would see as a responsible leader. And we had 4 attributes that we could attribute to what we would regard as a responsible leader. And we said, for us the kind of people that we want to develop are those leaders that take interest in terms of what happened in the economy generally, and it's not just about them. It's someone who is interested in continuously developing themselves, is someone who's got the necessary competencies to do whatever they commit themselves to doing. And most of all, is someone who will do their competent work, but do it in an ethical manner. And it was just about 2 years after we have crystallized that strategic intent of developing responsible leaders that we were hit by the developments that you have seen happen throughout the globe, but specifically in our country. All those 4 attributes of our leader were actually compromised. We found our members very questionable in terms of the deals and the work they found themselves doing. So the integrity attribute was compromised. We found ourselves being questioned about whether we really do have the competencies that we are alleged to have, because some of the work that we had done did not stand the test of time. I will not go into what happened with the KPMG and the allowing of deductions that were not necessarily correct. So the attribute of actually being competent in what you do did not necessarily stick to the test. We found ourselves wanting in terms of our attribute of actually continuously developing ourselves, because the whole globe was now going into the 4th industrial revolution. And sometimes as accountants, we were found a few steps behind. And the question was always asked, is there still a kid that wants to become an accountant? Everyone now wanted to become a coder. Everyone wanted to be in the digitization space. So if we just stuck to our old ways of doing things, we're basically becoming irrelevant, and the competency was like now a question. The 4th attribute of us taking interest in the national imperatives, we found ourselves, there's sustainability, there's SDGs, and we were still accountants. So in actual fact, our strategic intent was actually shaking. So it was then around 2017, 18, just before even Freeman joined us and he took over and pursued the journey that we were in, that we actually realized we really needed to relook ourselves if we wanted to be a sustainable profession and be able to continue to exist. And we said and thought hard, we engaged our members, we engaged our stakeholders, we engaged the upcoming talent, being the students that we were trying to recruit. And we basically came back with 4 strategic pillars that we wanted to come and focus on. And our first pillar was on member value, because at that point in time, we were also faced with members saying to us, what exactly do we get out of this institute, just given all the things that were transpiring during the 2018-2019 financial year? So it was a big question for us to answer in terms of what do we give our members for member value. And we then looked at that and actually said there are key objectives that we would want to give to our members. First, we would want to make sure that our members are relevant. We don't want our members to find themselves being the irrelevant accountants that do not know even how to interpret or do anything about coding or anything that the globe was moving towards. So we have had to do a lot of investment in terms of revising our syllabus, in terms of the new coming members, what competencies we needed to give them for them to be still relevant in the markets that they operate in globally. And even for our existing members, we've had to invest a lot of energy in trying to upskill them, support them so that they are not left behind. And we have got two different types of CAs, the old and the new. So that was the one key issue around the member value. The second aspect of the member value objective was even fast-tracked by what we saw with COVID. The whole old way of doing things, of getting members to attend seminar, was no longer going to work. So we have had to find ourselves doing a lot of adjustment, going onto the digital platform, being able to engage with our members, being able to support our members during the difficult times that they didn't know how to deal with some of the things during audit, including even how to audit during COVID, sorry. Then on the second leg of our relevance was very much compromised by our reputational issues. And the market, and we used to be highly regarded in the market, especially even in our local market, in terms of the public trust that people had put, that stakeholders had put in our profession. But because of what transpired, that was very much shaken to say, if we cannot count on what you had looked at as the profession, how can you really still be relevant, because you have lost the public trust element? So the bulk of our relevance was embedded on restoring the trust. And like Barry said, one of the most predicament or holdback that we had in actually restoring the trust so that we can bring back the relevance was the agility and the speed that was not there when it comes to our governance prescripts. For us to be able to move and actually do something about what cost us to actually lose the relevance, and because of our reputational damage that was there, it took us so long that it made members lose more faith in us. And that was the one aspect where I completely agree with Barry, that if there's anything we need to do as POAs is to loosen up and be able to move. But then what we quickly realized was trying to focus our trust restoration on discipline, which was very much impeded by our lack of agility. We decided to then focus that more on the front end part, which is more of helping our members not to find themselves in those situations. So we focus more of our initiatives around the whole issue of ethics and supporting our members to have an ethical conscience and be able to respond to the various situations they find themselves in an ethical manner. And that required of us to have more initiatives, more engagement with the partnership that was referred to with the various custodian of ethics, like the Ethics Institute, the internal auditors, to actually engage our members, to give them more exposure, to expose more people who have behaved ethically, rather than focus our attention on those that have not behaved ethically and we have had to discipline. So we moved our energy more to the front end in order to help our members behave ethically. And we have seen some traction in terms of more belief in the profession than where we found ourselves then. And all of this, we soon realized we'll never be able to do it if we are not enabled digitally. So the last element was for us to digitize both our processes and how we do things in order to deliver. So we never saw digitization as a standalone, but as an enabler for us to be able to deliver on our member value and our relevance promise. So that has been more of our focus. I think I've taken enough of your time. I will stop there, Asma.